This podcast is brought to you by the Deluxe Edition Network. To find more great shows on our network, head over to theden.show.
So take a second, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. If you want to hit the notification bell, you go ahead and do that. If not, I'm okay with that. But if you subscribe and hit the thumbs up, that helps us out a lot. If you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a like and leave a review. If you think we suck, tell us we suck, but make it a 5-star you suck. Because that's the only thing that helps. Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill.
You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on, and welcome to Take on the World with...
This is backwards.
I know.
I'm Lexi.
I know. And Nathan Blaze is joining us.
Howdy.
And I'm Mike D. And we are here with our friend Ann, who is a co-author of a couple books that are out there. One is out now. One is out in a short, distant future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good enough. A short, distant future.
A short, distant future.
Yeah.
Time machine. Forward a couple months, and we should be able to hold it and read it. And first, why don't you tell us about the book series, just what it is, the names of the books, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So this is our trilogy. It's the Raven Naelo trilogy. And
mark up a question already.
So it's the Raven Naelo trilogy. The first book was Raven Naelo and the Artifact of the Stolen Souls.
Some of us are really big fans.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. Well, the fact that, I'm the co-author and it blanked on me, can you tell I haven't done this before?
Yeah.
It's not.
I would assume that you guys are going crazy with just trying to get everything done with the second book. And I'm going to jump ahead. We might jump ahead for a second, and I know you have some other projects coming up, and we're going to talk about those. And you're probably going crazy with that. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
We forgive you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you forgive me. Let's see who else forgives me. So, so take two. The first book is Raven Naelo and Artifact of the Stolen Souls. Second one, which will be coming out potentially, we hope, by the end of November.
And that's a fluid end of November.
It's very fluid. Yes, we like fluid.
We
is Raven Naelo and the Fall of the Guardian. And I think that's part of the problem is like for the last, 8-10 months, that's it. That's the name. It's in the head. And then when people started saying, "Oh, let's talk about your first book," you go,
"Wait, what was my first book?"
Exactly. Like, okay, sure. Let me remember. No, but
I wrote a different book.
Yeah, but no, it's been great. It's it's a trilogy. So of course, after this, there'll be one more that'll be out, and probably I think about.
And you blew up one of my questions. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
I like to combine these things.
Okay.
There's a lot of information.
I put an X by it already.
You did. But yes, so those are the first two books in the trilogy, and I know that this is another question, so I'm just going to roll right into it. I think that about Raven and about what the books are about, like who is Raven? Like, I mean, that's the first question that everybody asks me is like, okay,
that was not my first question.
Well, I'm going to answer it, and then we can go back. Well, I'll just, Raven she is the main character. And we just wanted her to be a strong female character, to be a good romance model. And we can talk a little bit. I know we're going to get into like the history and stuff like that, and I won't say anything about that yet. But like we just knew when we were writing her and when we were writing this trilogy, it was Rachel's idea for this book, and she says I want it to be a female lead, and that's kind of how that started. So. Mm-hmm. So we can talk a little bit more.
Well, I'm going to lead into one of my questions right from that. Where did those character ideas come from? Were they modeled after people in real life?
Okay. So
because I'm just going to expand on that a little bit. I have done some writing.
Yeah.
not to the extent I've written a full book and then I threw it away because I'm very hard on my own work.
We all are.
But I never got it published. I never took that step. That was too scary for me.
Yeah.
And congrats to you guys for doing it because I know it's not an easy thing.
It's not. It's not. It was fun, but it was not easy.
I would draw my characters from people I've met in the past, or not 100%, but if they read it, they might say, "He's talking about me."
Yeah.
Of course, nobody ever read it because they're the garbage. But
no. Yeah. So that question is actually twofold. So, how this actually started, and this again,
I think mark off another question.
Yeah, exactly. How it started is from a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I know, but we can talk more about that because there's a lot more to go into that question. But it has to start there because Raven didn't exist at that time. The way that this whole world started was through this campaign, and Rachel hadn't played D&D prior to this, and her cousin Kevin one day he's like, come and hang out and like play D&D, just create this character, it's a rogue or whatever. And she's like, okay, whatever. And she started, and she's like, well, I need a name. So she took the word rogue and went backwards, and that's where we get Igor or Ugor, however you choose.
I was pronouncing it Igor.
So was I. Yeah, it just depends. Some people say Igor. It's okay. Either's fine. However, made it fun. But then her cousin Kevin had two characters in this campaign, which is Gideon and Mug. That's where the world started. And the whole story actually starts by this little story that you'll read in book 2, but also we hinted a little bit about it in book 1, is Igor and Mug they were actually guardians way, way back. Now remember, like Igor's was at the time an elf, so they live a long time. And so do gnomes, they live a long time. So they were Gideon's guardians back then, and they went on a quest for him to retrieve something. And well, after they retrieved it, I'm not going to tell you what they retrieved because that's a different story for another time.
We're not going to give any spoilers up from the book. I am going to only ask one book-specific question during this interview, which you need to answer because
I'll try.
I'm reading it, and I kept on looking at Deb, and I'm like, and by the way, who at this table has read this book?
Me? Well,
I thought Lexi still hadn't read it.
No, I read it when it first came out. I got like the first copy of the book.
Yes, she did.
I did.
Okay.
I read it immediately.
I did read it, and there was something I kept on looking at Deb and saying, what?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. You have to ask her.
Oh,
okay. So I'm going to ask.
Okay.
But go ahead.
But going back, just to wrap up what I say this. So after they retrieved this item, they were getting it, like they were hungry, and they were walking in, and they actually came across a dragon egg. And they decided, we're hungry. We don't care what it is. And they ate it. So that's how this entire world, because based on that moment is when Igor decided he was done with the rogue life. Something happened. Again, you'll find that all out in book 2. But something happened to him, and he decided, I'm done with this rogue life crap, and I want to build this city where everybody's welcome and with diversity and where everybody is welcomed and loved. And I'm going to call it Omelet, because one of the humans that saw them eating this egg made the comment of like, you just turned our fortune into an omelet. And they're like, huh. So the irony of it, he's like, this egg is what caused me to decide to not do this. So that's kind of how the story started. And then from there, it was a long time after we were cleaning out some bins, and Rachel came across these old character sheets. Which, you're a player. Yeah.
I was a player when I was young. Yeah.
So like every now and then, like if it's a really special campaign, you'll just tuck it away. You'll forget about where it's at, but it'll be tucked away. Well, we found it. And she was telling me about this. I'm like, wait, this is amazing. You need to write this. And she's like, oh, I don't know. She's like, I thought about it, but I don't know. And finally, we talked her into doing it, which was a process and a half, which I think is another question, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, but it, that's how it started. And then that's when she said, I want to do this, and I know this world, and I love this world, and I know what's going to happen, but I want there to be a female, and I think it's going to be Igor's daughter. And that brings us up to where we're at right now.
And it just started out as finding those old sheets just
Exactly.
buried away.
Exactly. But I want to go back to just really quick something you said about your writing. Like, so many authors do that because they get so critical on themselves and they forget the key components of there are people out there that will help you edit. There are you were supposed to have beta readers and alpha readers, people that you truly, truly trust to give your material to critique you.
This will lead into my next question.
Okay. So let me answer the rest of the first question. Is it based on other people? Some of them are. Other than the whole Raven thing, is Rachel is Raven. She took a lot of her own personality and put it into the character of Raven. I'm actually Avalon. Like, I put a lot of my personality into Avalon.
And you can see that when you read the book.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who knows you who reads the book,
exactly.
they're going to see that.
Exactly. And then when Rachel's boys, Austin and Jared, were mid-teens, I think, one Christmas we said, this is right when we were starting to come up with the concept of the book. We said, all we want for Christmas from you guys this year is write a story, write us a character. Tell us about somebody that we might throw in there just as, we were just thinking it was just going to be like a background character.
Or an alter ego.
Yeah. And Austin came up with this amazing character, Awshade.
Yep.
And then Jared was like, I mean, Jared was he was younger, and he was just like, well, I like that story. So, and then what he did was he added to that story and became Jars.
Okay.
And that's kind of how, we don't like, be very careful on how I say this. Exactly. Jared just really liked how Awshade's part of the story was just about like the fight and stuff like that, and Jared's very much into that, so he's like, oh, I'm just gonna take this Jar's character and throw it into that storyline because I really like that storyline.
Right.
So that's kind of how those two things.
That's how the best characters happen sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, my best friend and I, when we played D&D, we made characters that were best friends.
Yeah.
And it was super, super easy to play. My character was just an insanely mischievous halfling rogue.
So nothing like you.
And his character was an equally mischievous half-orc. Mm-hmm. And my character just rode around on his shoulders all the time because she's so tiny.
Uh-huh.
Like, one of their gimmicks was like going around and like tricking people like she was a little girl, because they say that halflings kind of like human children if you're not used to seeing them. So like that was like one of their things. That's how they all come out. It's always like a play, and that's
exactly
what
right.
helps to create a character.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We were a part of a campaign. This has nothing to do with the book, but we had a campaign with some friends years ago, and she was the girl was an orc, and her husband played a halfling, and part of the campaign was like that she carried him around in a baby sling.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I love about these. Mm-hmm. Like, I was not into it when I was younger, but like, that's what I love about it now. It's like just the creativity, and I never realized how creative you could be in this world. But yeah, absolutely. The only other thing I want to say, and then we can move on, is one of the characters for book 2 is very personal to me. As you all know, that I lost my niece, Ashley. Yeah. She was just going to be 22. Tragically, and Rachel and I said we need to do a dedication for her, and so she became a character, and the character in book 2 is named Ashley, and I am so excited for people that knew Ashley to read this, because we put as much as we could into her into this book, keeping with the time frame.
Yeah.
But that was a very for me, it was very personal.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's a good writer will do that.
Oh yeah,
Yep,
I actually
absolutely.
now that you told me that, I'm actually really looking forward to reading that and finding that and picking that out. That actually sounds very interesting. to
Yeah.
read.
Yeah. So you always, as a writer, you should always find your strength with things around you, whether it's you write about places that are around you or people that you know, and you just pull little.
Well, the
characteristics.
best stories out there have a hint of truth to them.
Yeah.
A hint of reality to them. And when you take that reality and you can expand upon it with a writer's imagination, that's awesome. And that's what you guys did with the first book.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly can't wait to read the second book.
Good.
We pre-ordered.
Yay.
But I'm going to read this question. You don't have to answer because you already did. But I just want people to know that I had this question because I got this from reading the book.
Yeah.
After reading the first book, Artifact of Souls, Stolen Souls, I'm feeling some D&D influences.
Yep.
And where did you draw the influence from the world you created? Yep. And now I'm talking so more the world you created than the characters. So you can answer the second part of that.
Yeah.
Because the world is a complicated world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not a huge world.
No.
But it's a complicated world.
Well, it's not huge in book 2, but it keeps getting bigger as the trilogy goes on. So yeah. So this actually goes to Kevin, her Rachel's cousin, because again, that D&D campaign, like, he created this world to play in, and it was only a couple of the cities, but Omelette was dominantly the one, I think. And then it just grew from there. Like Rachel, I guess, I mean, it took us a long time to write the book, but in the early stages, Rachel and Kevin sat down and took those couple little tiny cities that they remembered from the early days. And Kevin had even, surprisingly, he found the map that he drew on. And we're talking about, like, people have to understand, like, we're talking about over 20 years ago that they did that campaign. And we miraculously had these details to go by. So they took that and then they just started pulling from there and creating it. And then when they were done that, then Rachel and I looked at it and she said, well, what else do you think we should have? And I didn't have much to do with the creation part of the map and the world and stuff like that. 100% was Rachel and Kevin, was just pulling from their intense D&D knowledge and knowing, you know, Rachel is so meticulous. And she has like this very scientific mind where she knows things like, if you're going to have this kind of a body of water, it has to come from somewhere and empty. Like, I wouldn't even think of stuff like that, but she did. Like, so when she was like drawing up that map, she knew everything of how all of these ecosystems and how all of these areas needed to operate to have a world.
Kind of the cool thing about what I've always liked about fantasy and sci-fi novels was you don't have to be 100% in reality.
Exactly.
My favorite author is Piers Anthony, by far, hands down. I've read more of his work than anybody else.
Okay. Oh, I read that book. Yeah, that's Piers Anthony too.
When I'm going through, when I was reading the book, I was thinking, in world creation, you guys created the world different than what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm used to is Piers Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And like I read the Xanth series, which is a magical world.
Okay.
So I kept on reflecting on that, and I'm like, then I'm like, well, I'm focusing on Piers Anthony in world creation because that's the fantasy that I know. What about other books that I read? And I'm thinking, well, Incarnations of Immortality series.
Okay.
Piers Anthony. And I'm thinking, hold it, Piers Anthony wrote that too. And then I'm thinking, there's another series. I don't know the name of the series, but the first book is Sos the Rope. It's like a battling barbarian type series.
Okay.
Yeah, Piers Anthony.
I have a favorite author.
So yeah, but that's okay. But I'd have to say for me, going into this, the one thing that I kept saying to her over and over and over wasn't necessarily about the world part of it, because again, that wasn't my strength. My strength was characters. So everything that I read, like, if the characters don't really get me, like where I want to follow their journey, that I want to know more about them, like, it's done. Like, I can barely, there's so many book series that I've started to read and couldn't get past the first book because I'm like, it didn't capture me enough.
Well, when I was... Go ahead, Nathan.
Like, that problem comes up a lot because you can have some of the best world building ever, but if the characters in the story are one-sided or, don't go anywhere, aren't interesting. Then...
Podcast Therapy Dog wants to come up.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Exactly. Dude, we should have totally, put him in some kind of a costume. That would have been fun.
No costume.
Exactly.
I don't want these, please.
But yeah,
I am not a show horse.
That's my favorite thing to talk about, though, is, building characters. I mean, that is me.
Character building is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought that can go into it. There's a lot of little things that can make or break.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if they're the good guy or the bad guy. It's, you just have to, everybody likes everybody.
Right.
So I'm going to ask the first question on my list here, which isn't actually the first one, but it's just the first one I wrote down because I know for me, I have been published.
Mm-hmm.
I've been published, not in novel form, but I've been published in newspapers and other stuff. I wrote political articles and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which we aren't going to talk about here. We don't do politics.
We don't do politics. And that's the reason we don't do politics on this show, because that. Anyway, I know for me, the hardest thing about writing, period, I added a book, would be the negative reviews of that work. Mm-hmm. How do you process and deal with negative reviews or negative feedback? And have you had any?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Impossible.
No, we have. We had. Well, here's the thing. So I'm going to answer this again. A lot of things it'll be twofold because obviously I'm talking for myself and also for Rachel too. I think we both have similar, very different processes on the negativity. I've never really taken negativity as personal.
I do.
I don't, only because you can't make everybody happy.
Well, no, and I think that also goes into your line of work and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
you deal with that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't make everybody happy.
Exactly, you cannot, absolutely cannot make everybody happy. And that was one of the hurdles we had to get over when we started writing this book. Was sometimes she would ask me, well, if we write this, what are we going to do if nobody reads it? And I'm like, well, there'll be somebody will want to read it. You can't say no one's going to, but somebody's going to read it. Everybody's not going to want to read it, and that's okay. I don't like.
So you're less sensitive to the negativity. She's more sensitive to it.
Yeah, a little bit, and I
would be too.
Yeah, and I think that it's not. She's still strong about it. I mean, it's nothing negative. It's she questions. I have the personality of okay, whatever. She has the personality of she wants to question it. Well, we got a negative review once on Goodreads. It was the only one that we ever got. Some guy gave us a 2 or something on Goodreads, and everybody else has given us 4s, 5s. We've had great reviews, and she's just I cannot believe it. And then she started, because she's so logical. She started doing more research, and she said, "This dude gives everybody 2s," and I said, "Well, there you have it."
So he's just.
He just
exactly.
is
one of those people.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, what was the name of that guy?
He's one of those people who read
tattoo?
Piers Anthony and is not happy with anything else.
There you go. But that's the thing, though. Is I think that everybody is, of course, you put your heart and soul into anything.
Oh,
there's a little bit of a
Yeah.
I think
the thing about negative reviews online.
Yeah.
The algorithms don't care if the review is negative or positive. The fact that someone commented pushes stuff up the ladder. So.
Exactly. But then I think it's gotten over the last 2 years a lot easier, especially when this year, we got to go back out in person to events, and we actually had people that bought our first book and came to the table going, "We were hoping you'd have the second book today. Oh my God, we've been watching you and waiting, and and just have those conversations at these events of people so excited. That really helps you not even worry about
and
the negatives.
You can't, I'd imagine you can't focus on the negative too much because then you'll end up throwing away a book script or never publishing or never taking that step.
You cannot make everybody, there's going to always be somebody that's not.
Why are you looking at me?
He kept looking back at you.
Yeah.
He was going, "You won't publish it," or "Throw it away," or... I think also to bring this back around is that when you play D&D, you put so much heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
Like that character becomes you. Like you are that character now.
Yeah.
So like to write something that's completely based off of something that you love so much is very, very, it's hard to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to kind of like let that go and say like, this isn't my character anymore. Mm-hmm. This is everybody's character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel that.
Like when I wrestled, when I was a wrestler, for me, the biggest thing was, can I get the crowd involved in the match? Can I, if I was a baby face, can I get them to pop for me? If I'm a heel, can I get them to boo me? Can I get them to hate me? Mm-hmm. As a writer, you want to get people invested in the characters so that they want to get on to the next book and see what happens.
Exactly.
And when one of the characters that you like dies, it means something. Like mm-hmm. It's like you feel it emotionally, and you did that with the first book. Like not wanting to follow the characters on to the next book is what I'm saying.
There you go. Spoilers.
No, there's no spoiler.
No.
You just you're. What I'm saying is you got people invested in the characters.
Yeah.
And like I want to know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, now I have to wait.
Yeah. And you know what the best part that is about it is too is like, you know, we expected people are gonna want to know, oh, what happens with Raven or what happens with like the core group. You know, when I refer to the core group, like that's the Guardians, like the 6 core group. But like we had a lot of people that like wanted to know about even some of the smaller characters, and we're like, wow, we didn't think anybody would like connect that quick, but they do. And that to me, that is what makes a story so good, is the character.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
And even like supporting characters, not just the main cast too.
Right.
Like as you said, a lot of people just clicked with some of those
mm-hmm.
lesser characters. And those lesser characters are just as important as the main cast.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I have a little puppy. I have a little puppy on the
puppy.
What do you call him? Emotional support dog?
He's a podcast therapy dog.
Podcast
He made you feel
dog.
so comfortable.
Yeah, right?
You just started petting him and talking.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's what he's here for. Look at that. Oh, he got too much.
She can go get mommy. Nope.
He's like, nope.
So, if I were to say the words writer's block, what does that mean to you?
Writer's block. Writer's block means staring at a screen and having no idea where to go. Writer's block means writing an entire chapter and being really, really excited about it, and your writing partner going, what? Or just not knowing. Like just truly for me at least, I can't really speak on this for Rachel, but writer's block truly is going, you know where you have to go next, but you have no idea how to get there.
Yeah, it's just frustration.
Idea. Yeah. But again, that's where we're blessed where we have the two of us to write together. So when that happens, we would just sit and talk and be like, okay, we know what has to happen next, but how do I get from here to there? And then like we throw some stupid stuff out there, and then some stuff will be like, oh, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That is it. Just like I'm jumping way ahead with book 3. Like we're like, okay, we know where we have to get. We really do know, okay, how we have to tie up this whole trilogy. But, and we can, I think that I feel like I keep jumping ahead on your questions.
You're good.
Here.
I just put an X by him. I just put an X by him.
But when we thought about writing this, it was going to be just one book. Like, we had no desire to write a trilogy. And then we went to see a friend of ours.
I X'd off that question.
Sorry, what?
Because I thought you had answered it, because I thought you had a trilogy in mind when you started.
No.
Let me go back and ask the question quick before you answer.
Go. All right, pause. Everybody, pause.
Stop.
No one speaks. Yeah, go ahead.
When you were in the process of writing the first book, was it written to be a series or a sequel with a sequel in mind?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Asked and answered.
Right.
Could you expand on that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can. So when we wanted to write this, Rachel said, it had in her mind it was going to be just one book, and she had the whole thing laid out, and she was like, but it was going to. When we looked at it, it was going to be a massive, like Gone with the Wind size, huge
4 VHS tapes.
Exactly, massive book. And then we met with a friend of mine who is a children's author, and she says, most people write in fantasy fiction trilogies. You should really think about trilogies. Mm-hmm. That probably would be the best way to go. Like, oh crap. Okay. So it was exciting. It was really, really exciting to think about doing this, but then we're just like, how? And so Rachel sat down and we talked, and she came up with this outline of like, okay, we know we can end book 1 here. Okay, that makes sense. And we already know how book 2 is going to end because it was going to be the ending. Like, we just knew that there's no way with what we had in planned for the 1 book was going to fill all 3.
Right.
So we're like, okay, so we know we have an ending of 1 and we know we have an ending of 2. What the heck are we going to do for 3? And as we started writing 1, all these things started popping up like, oh, that would be good for 3. And like you just kind of kept dumping these ideas in, and then it just started flowing. But then what's crazy about it is like we were in the middle of writing and finishing the ending of book 2, and then this new idea just materialized. And it materialized out of things we were writing throughout the first 2 books. And we're like, we didn't even see that path. We didn't even see that trail. But it definitely was one, and we're like, this could be these. And then now, because of that one moment, we have the story for book 3.
Yeah.
And it's perfect.
I was actually going to ask if you had it all, like, if you had like some kind of outline or plan already in, or were you just getting the story up, making the story up as you wrote along?
You can't do like first book, no, first 2 books, no. We knew, like I said, what the whole story had to be based off of thinking it was going to be the 1 book. But again, we knew there was no way that was going to be enough of an interesting storyline to fill 3. But now we have more than enough ability to cover the book. So, yeah, we're so excited.
How was your first version, the original version, different from your final version? Go with each book, or
it is 80% different.
That's a lot.
Yeah, like there's a lot of characters that were supposed to have certain fates that didn't have those certain fates, and the other ones that didn't have to have those fates did have those. Yeah, it's definitely. Oh, you're right.
Hi, Elvis.
Pausing for the breakdown. You good?
Yeah.
All right. No, but yeah, no, it's totally different. Like there again, same. It was the. I'm 80% maybe.
Have you collaborated with other published authors now? Like talked to them and sat down with them.
Yeah.
Do they feel the same way that it's about 80% different or 60%?
Some people. Some are very like they knew what they wanted to do for us, and they did not sway off of that path. But then other writers are like, oh yeah, we had no idea that what was going to happen. But as a writer, you should always go in with a good outline, because the last thing you want to do is back yourself into a corner where you have to get to place and you're going, there is no way I can do this. How am I going to do this? And you never, as an author, want to do that. So, but most people, I don't know, there's always change. Like, there's a very, very, very few percent of authors that ever say, oh, I have the same book I started writing as the one that I have now. There's always changes. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nathan.
So, like, there were some things in the book that obviously didn't work when you were writing it, and some things you thought would work better. What was, like, more difficult, or what did you have to choose between? What was difficult for you to write, and what was more natural and easier for you to do?
So Rachel is killer at dialogue and battle scenes. Like, that's her forte. She can turn a phrase really well when it comes to writing any type of dialogue for a character. Her characters, you can tell the different personalities. When I attempt to write characters, they all sound like the same person. It's just not my thing. What my strength is the detail of, taking something simple as a sentence that means, Nathan walked up the steps. Instead of just saying Nathan walked up the steps, like I would take that and say, Nathan walked up the rickety wooden steps, kicking over a can, blah, blah, blah. Like I add those little extra details to those. And that's kind of where my strength has always been.
So you added like an extra little bit of personality to the characters in the world and everything.
Exactly.
What?
Making sure the microphone.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. If you were to write a spin-off, this is a speculation.
Yeah.
Of any single character in the book,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear this answer.
which character would it be?
Oh, what? Rachel actually saw the questions and she liked this one too. I would love to see Gideon, Igor, and Mug when they were younger. Like I think that.
While you were talking about book 3, I'm thinking I got a book 4 in mind. If you want to know it,
Yeah.
it's a prequel.
Yeah. Oh, we've talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we've talked about it. Yeah. So I think
Old news.
because but it would be you're gonna learn about another character in book 2 coming up, and she would be part of that group too.
Okay.
So I think that we would see either. I don't know if I would do it through Gideon's perspective or Eagle. Probably Gideon because he ascends to become a guardian, and I think that would be kind of a
He's
cool,
almost on the outside.
Yeah.
Like outside looking in kind of.
Yeah. So I think that that's who I would probably lean towards.
It's almost like an omnipotent point of view from him
Yeah.
in some aspects.
Yeah.
Not because he's removed from the group or anything like that, just because like of his unique abilities and his unique position in the story now.
Right. Exactly.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, too bad. You should read the book.
Read the book.
I'm not asking for an in-depth analysis of each character, but give us some cliff notes on each of the major characters in the first book, not the second book.
Okay. I'm going to remove. Oh,
Weenus!
not like that. I was gonna.
Ollie, go.
I was gonna move Ollie. He did not want to leave me. Oh yeah.
No, he was comfortable. He's like, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Exactly. I was gonna move because my legs fall asleep. Sorry there,
He
Ollie.
can be as calm as the ocean, but
Mean old
also
boy.
as rickety and
As
He's a
those
little-
stairs.
He's a little spitfire. It's all good. Anyway, okay, so the characters. So Raven, lead character. She is a half elf. She wants to follow in her father's footsteps, become a rogue. So she's very spitfire. She knows it all. She's very much in her own bubble at the
She's
beginning.
headstrong.
Yeah, she's very, very headstrong. That's great. I won. That's the easy one. Me. She's very opinionated. She's very stickler of playing by the rules. But she's got a very I guess sassy personality. I guess is the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
Like she's got a forked tongue. Like she has no problem kind of telling you like it is, like it is, kind of thing. So, like I said, me. Then Jared, very much, and we wrote him very similar to Jared's personality. He's very humble. He's very quiet. He's very book smart. He kind of keeps to the shadows, but when anybody's in trouble, like he will definitely jump in and do what he can to help and save the group.
Very loyal.
Very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very loyal. Isera. Isera is just fun. She's a girly girl. Everything you can picture as in like those, we're dating ourselves there, those 80s Valley girly girls.
Like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. She's very girly girl. She's all about fashion and hair and, boys and like that. She is that. But she's strong. She's a warrior underneath it all. Even underneath all the glitter and the makeup and the frilliness, she's a fighter as well. And then I wanted to say last, and then we have Gideon. Yes, I think I got everybody.
Yeah.
Raven, Avalon, Jars, Isara, yeah, and then Mug. Mug is just the class clown. He is the jokester. He is our comic relief. He likes to fart. He likes to say inappropriate, rude jokes. Like he is the class clown. He tries to keep everything light, but again, he's a warrior. Which is his,
and also very loyal.
yeah, he's very loyal, and his character is kind of cool because he's a cleric, so he's a healer. He's supposed to be there to help people survive, but yet the dwarf side of him comes through where like he'll put a beat down on you, no problem. Mm-hmm. And then Gideon is, he's our, I hate to use the term, but he's our angel. He's our protector. He's our hottie. He's like, very attractive. He's, very, again, but very humble about it. He's angelic. He's a protector. But again, I'm trying to be careful because you don't know all this yet. Like, but he also has a very mischievous side as well, from his past.
Well, obviously he had to have. Look at his crew.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's him. I think is a good general.
I feel like a good way to describe him is like look at his crew. Obviously, like he was different, but he stepped into his role.
Yeah, exactly, and that's key. Like, he's not a rule breaker, although he walks the line a lot. Like it's a very gray area for him of what
he'll kind of turn his head.
Exactly, he turns his head, or he does something and he'll be like, well, technically it's not against the rules, and like
technically if you do it this way,
get it like this.
Exactly. He finds the loopholes. Mm-hmm. But the thing with Gideon though is that he fiercely loves Igor and his family. Like they are his family more than even his biological family. Like these people mean everything to him, and though he's not allowed to, he would burn the world for them. Like that's the feelings he has about them inside of him.
Yeah, they're great characters. Now I enjoyed even some of the other characters that you didn't mention, some of the lesser, or I don't want to say lesser, but minor characters in the book. I love them all.
Yeah. Like Thomas. Thomas is great. Thomas.
Thomas was awesome.
Okay, well, do you want to know who Thomas is loosely based off of?
Who?
Do you know who Thomas Wellington is?
No.
I don't think so.
He's an actor that plays Clark Kent in Smallville.
Oh my God! Okay, yeah.
Rachel was a huge fan of his, and we always thought, oh my God, hot. But we needed, that was like the vision that we saw, and then we're like, when she and I are very much in the same, and like we like to have people in our minds when we write, and he always came front and center to her, so that's where Thomas Wellington comes from.
See, and that's cool because I like putting people in mind when I read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I read Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption, I didn't know who Tim Robbins was.
Yeah.
But I did know who Morgan Freeman was. And I could hear Morgan Freeman narrating that story when I was reading it originally before they made the movie. And I'm thinking, man, that would be, I could just get busy living, I'll get busy dying.
Yep.
Too natural.
Yeah, it just, he fit that.
Yeah, exactly. So so there's a lot of, I would look like there's one or two more like that in books too that I threw in as a kind of a little funny.
And that's how you write.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So there's a lot. I mean, there's so many characters. We could just sit here and talk for an entire hour about the characters. But
I am going to ask the only book specific question that I have.
All right.
Red hair plays predominant in several places in the book.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing with red hair?
Well, what I can tell you, let's talk about Cortland. she's a succubus. And most times, a lot of times,
They're always associated with
they're
red
always
or purple or
yeah, exactly. And she always had, again, when we envisioned her, she always had that really hot, fiery, fireball red hair. Always. And it's, I mean, she's from the abyss. Like, that
Makes
was a
sense.
natural. My character, Avalon, the reason I went with that color was most times when you see or think of female elves, it's the long golden hair or light brown hair.
Galadriel.
Exactly. And I wanted her to be as different as possible. So that's why she has a very short haircut with a bright red.
Okay.
I like it.
That's it?
That's it.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
I got a thing for redheads, so
Oh.
it jumps out to me.
Yeah. No. And just, well, think about both of their personality. Well, you haven't seen much of Portland yet, but like,
Oh yeah.
her and Evelyn have very similar personalities. It's like no BS kind of.
See, but I could see her with black hair too, like jet black.
Who? Evelyn?
No,
Oh, Cortland.
Cortland.
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I think that the red just,
Oh, the red fits, but
yeah,
I don't know where you get the jet black from. I don't know where you're getting that
Jet.
from.
black.
yeah.
Purple eyes.
I can't tell you.
You can't?
Ooh.
I can't tell you. Raven has purple eyes.
We found
Right.
something.
Yeah,
Forbidden.
yeah. There's something very special
Okay.
about Raven, and it's the purple eyes are a telltale
I get it.
sign.
I'm with you now. That makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Because I read the book,
Write
and
that
you
down,
should
write that
too.
down.
Exactly. There's a
Write it down. Write it
here's the
down.
thing. There's a little slight hint in the prologue of that book.
There you go, folks.
There you go.
Pick it up, read it.
Yep.
I'm gonna X that one off now.
He's pleased with that.
Oh, good.
I thought one of you guys had a preoccupation with redheads.
Well, no, Rachel doesn't like redhead. But personally, I have always.
Because was
I've
there
always
not a
loved
red-haired
redhead.
fox as well?
Yes.
Yes, there was.
Yes.
Red. And every time it came up, I'd look over. I'm like, "What's the thing with red hair?"
Yeah.
I don't know. Ask her.
Yeah, no. I've always personally liked red hair, but yeah, no, there's nothing really underlyingly
Okay.
suspicious. Just
It's vibrant.
for me, exactly.
Nothing sus. It's just
Yeah. No. I just think, I don't know why, but I always thought, it always comes to me like when you talk to anybody that's got a fiery personality, a hot, like, it's the red. It's like red
Stands out.
stands out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing too is that red is a very hard color to cover up.
Mhm.
It's very pigmented,
Mhm.
and it comes through like almost anything.
Yep.
Like if you put a little bit of red in something, it is just like
Yeah.
you can tell.
Absolutely.
So
Pops,
I think
red
that's why
pops.
too.
Exactly.
that you said you already answered this sort of.
Yeah.
What part of the book did you find most difficult to write? I don't want to specifically say you or specifically say Rachel together, because you said that you do descriptive scenes much
Yeah.
better. She does dialogue much better.
Yeah.
So, as a whole, what did you find to be the most difficult to write?
The battle scene. And even though, because that's the first thing that pops in my mind, is because we just wanted it to be wow. We just wanted it to shock and blow people's minds. And even though, Rachel's very good at them, like that one had a lot of rewrites and a lot of, outside input of like other people looking at it and, asking their suggestions and stuff like that. I remember that was one of the ones that was a little harder to write. There's no other chapters that are jumping out at me, but I can tell you, again, going back to what I said earlier of, having to find, which I call filler chapters, because again, when you only had X amount of material now for so many books, you had to find what's going to happen
What happens
to
between
tie
all this?
in. Exactly. If like out of your 26 chapters, you were able to pull 12 of them from your original work, what's happening in those other 14 chapters.
Right.
Those were hard to kind of fill in and be genuine. And
I think going in with a trilogy in mind, or at least 2 books, is what you said that someone told you
trilogy.
most those trilogies. You felt you had enough for 2 books, and you've expanded on that to make 3. I think as a writer,
yeah,
that would give you
anxiety.
No. Because I found when I write, I'm writing, and I'm constantly trying to condense without taking away, because it gets to be too much. 900 pages is 3 books. But if you have that, it gives you license to expand upon the things that will make a difference later on.
Right. Like, it's a really fine balance between keeping those little, like, Easter eggs in there for people to catch later on versus putting a little too much information and detail. It will always be and has always been and will always be a very, very fine balancing act of doing that.
And I'm sure that's caused a few rewrites of something here and there.
Absolutely.
So, the second book is on pre-order now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you could tell us about the book without
premise.
What you would have on a cover to tell the story.
Yes.
Can you give us that? And then where they can go to pre-order, and whatever you say, I'm also going to flash on the screen and link in the description.
Okay.
Whatever you say about where they can go.
Okay.
I will take down every note, every hint that you give me about this book. I will start putting together a timeline. I will have a board with little red lines.
Oh, I have to be so careful. So, all right. The person that is on book, okay, Raven's on the back cover this time instead of the front cover.
Well, the front cover was released, right?
Yeah.
So you could talk about that.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Real quick, because I know that you had somebody who did the first cover. Did they also do the second cover in the same style?
They did.
Where it's like all kind of one?
Yeah,
I like that.
They did.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So the second book we talked about for the front cover, like, oh, it's Raven, she should be on it, and we went back and forth, and we're like, no, this needs to be a statement. And so the person on the front cover is someone that Raven and the others are searching for and trying to help. That's all I can say about that.
I have suspicions.
They're trying to figure out, they're trying to find this person to see if this person can help them with a quest. The other thing, I guess, we talked about, like, we're gonna meet new characters. You're gonna meet Ashley. You're gonna meet someone named Gooey Beans.
Gooey Beans.
They sound like a very interesting character.
That is Ashley's sidekick. You're gonna find out about Gooey Beans. You're going to meet some pirates in this next.
Arr.
Yep, you're gonna meet some pirates.
Some seafaring
people. Yes. God, I'm trying to think of how without, I can talk directly to the people that have read the first book, and I could tell you things that way, but then I'm ruining it for the people that haven't yet.
No, be as vague as possible.
Be as vague as possible. We are going, okay, here's what I can tell you. You're going to get to see waterfront in this book, which is in the land where the wizards are trained.
I like wizards.
You're gonna get to see that. You're going to get to follow some of the guardians to their home cities as well.
Ooh.
You're gonna get to see that. You're gonna find out about Purple Eyes.
Oh, okay.
That's the right question.
You're gonna find out about Purple Eyes. And like every good fantasy fiction book, you're gonna go on a quest. You're gonna go on a crazy quest.
Love the quest.
And then the other side thing I could tell you about is, like, you're actually gonna learn a little bit more about her father, Igor.
Oh, nice.
So you're gonna find teasing for that prequel, maybe some things that that have happened.
I kind of really like Igor's character.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
I do think a prequel book would be very interesting if done right.
Yeah.
If done right.
Yeah. One of my biggest things is for prequels. Do you have either of you read Cassandra Clare's books, the Shadowhunter books?
No, but I know about them.
Okay, like I really like her series, and I really try to follow the same path of there are so many avenues that she has taken with her characters, and the prequels are amazing. There's 2 different series that are prequels, and that's how I said to Rachel, I said, if we're going to do this, I said, we have to set it up where we have the ability to take side characters and build their own private world.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Yep. So, all right. So, where people can find it. So you can pre-order your copy now on our website, R.A. Fischer Author. You can also get it on Amazon. You won't be able to pre-order it, but eventually you will be able to buy it on Amazon. We just ask everybody if they're able to order it through our site, because a lot of people don't know this, and it's you don't make anything as the author when you pay
through Amazon.
Really,
Yeah.
you don't get anything.
Like you get like $2.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. The Amazon, so the big box stores, and I mean they make more off of your book than you do.
I mean, it's nice to get like someplace that everybody can find.
It is,
but at the same time,
and that's here's how I say it. The beauty of Amazon, and I always say yes, go to Amazon as well, because people in California, they're not going to know, they're going to find our books that way. But I ask people that are Pennsylvanian local fans that follow us, if you're able to, just go to our website. We're also on Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook, R.A. Fischer Authors. You can follow us. We're about to, and I'm going to look at Nathan, because what people don't know is Nathan has joined our marketing team. Yay!
Surprise!
Yay! Yeah, so he's helping a little bit. So we are starting, they've all been working on, we're going to be doing the Discord for our fans, which is very exciting. We're
cool.
on Instagram. And
I
stuff
just
like
got
that,
Discord.
So, yeah.
I know. I
have one friend on it,
Yeah.
Nathan.
I have to teach 2 people Discord now.
But yes, so those are the places you can. So Instagram, Facebook, our website is where you can follow us. The big thing is that I ask people too. This is like a public announcement for everybody, and this helps all authors, not just me. Please join our email newsletter. The reason that helps is when you start to go to marketing a book, people are going to want, like podcasters and bloggers are going to look at your social media following. It's going to look at your email list, because they want to know that this is going to benefit them as well.
Right.
So, and the other thing is by joining our email list, you get the newsletter, and there's always like little added things to the newsletter for people to want to follow along and stuff like that.
Right.
We also have a blog, which is on our website, that I write every month. And then the other thing is like, if you read the book, please, go on to Goodreads and Amazon and do a book review, because that's key as well, because for both of those, the more reviews you get, the higher you get put on the pages.
Algorithm.
Exactly. So that helps tremendously. And you don't even have to write the review. Like, you can go in and go 5 stars and be done. That still counts.
Yeah.
I'm a notorious reviewer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, if my Google thing pops up and I was someplace, and I'll review it.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
I reviewed it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's gotta
I
come down
reviewed the
to that.
hotel we stayed in that I had my paranormal experience.
Were you like ghosts?
I said,
1 out of 10, never again.
if you stay in room 124, let me know if anything happens.
I mean, I think it's actually kind of important to do those kinds of reviews, because it doesn't just help the person who's producing it or the company or whatever. It also helps people who want to take a look at it, see what other people think. 'Cause I know a lot of times I read user reviews
I do too.
Oh, absolutely.
I always do.
Mhm.
And that's why I try to leave them. Like if I get something from, just say Amazon, because we talked about it, and I liked it or didn't like it, I go on and I'm very specific on why I did. And maybe it's not the same thing you're looking for. Maybe it's not the same reason you liked it or didn't like it, but I'm going to tell you why I didn't, and this is why.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I always read a review whenever you buy anything online. Read the reviews when you buy anything online.
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
You losing your podcasting voice?
Maybe.
Okay. So what other projects do you have in the grinder?
Well, obviously we're about to start book 3 shortly, but we're actually also in the middle. Rachel is in the middle of writing a comic book.
Nice.
So it's going to be called Synergy. It's a superhero comic book. So we have an artist, and we are 7 pages in with it being developed.
Awesome.
So yeah. So it's gonna. I. The cool thing, I'll tell you just a little bit about it's Darla is one of the characters, and Dane. But we toy with fourth dimension, being able to interact and use fourth dimension.
That's cool. Cool. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Rachel's pet project
How involved are you with that?
for the comic book. I'm just basically just bouncing ideas off.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my thing, and marketing. Like that's the end of it.
So,
but-
like, how much of a contrast is making the comic book, writing the comic book? If you can answer this, how much of a contrast is it writing the comic book than it is to write the novels?
Oh, it's so much quicker. Comic books are so much quicker. The average comic book is only 20 pages long, but again, Rachel's going in with this knowing that it's a 5-book series for this comic. So she has a very in-depth story to tell in a very short period of time. And that's the difference. It's like when you write a novel, you can go on and on and on and on and on. When you're talking about a comic book,
You don't have as much space.
yeah, exactly. You have to tell it really quick.
A lot of your stories told with the pictures,
Exactly.
so the art is
Speaking for it.
very important.
Yeah, and we have an amazing artist.
So it's
And it lends to her strength, which is dialogue, because
Right.
Right.
a lot of 90% of comic books is dialogue.
Dialogue and art.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're excited that that's what she's working on. We don't really have an exact release date for that. Sometime,
I'm sure that's going to be a process.
yeah. So next year for sure. I'm thinking maybe early summer. We'll see. Sometime next year. And then the hope, I'm knocking on lots of wood here. 2023 is when we're hoping to have books.
That's unacceptable.
I know.
Because when I burn through the next one,
she wants it now.
Yeah, I know. Well, here's the problem. It's not about the writing. It's about being self-authors.
Yeah.
It's very costly.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, very, very.
do you want to talk about the process?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. So
I mean, for anybody out there who's thinking about
doing it.
you know, when we were upstairs, hang on, when we were
Yeah.
upstairs, we were talking for a second, and a question popped in my head.
Yeah.
What made you, as a self-author, go to a paper version rather than just a digital version?
We're old school. Truly, that's what
I
it
like
is.
it.
Like we both like to have actual books.
I do too. I love it.
Yeah.
When you were saying about paging through
the
your
author proof.
the author proof, I find it very hard to read a book
on
online.
digital.
Yeah,
Me too.
I had to do all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of like online or on paper reading. To Kill a Mockingbird, I think, was one. I had to read half on paper and half digital because we were reading that and then COVID hit. And I could not stand reading it
Digital.
on the screen.
Honestly, if I have something
digital,
digital, a lot of times I will print it out
Oh really? Yeah.
just so I can hold the paper and read it. rather than read it on a screen.
I
Yeah,
hate
no,
the
no, no.
digital.
We did the same thing. Like, so, how much do you want me to tell about the process from start to finish?
As much as you want.
So, okay, so we'll bypass the whole. All right, so you have a great idea. You want to write a book. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna create your outline. So I know theoretically that this is everything that I want to cover, and you start writing. And then as you start writing the process, you might realize, oh, I have to throw a chapter in here because I need to get from A to B, and oh, here I have to get from C to D. Like, so that it's very fluid. So we're gonna bypass all of that. So now you get to the end where you have a book. Okay. And the only people that have seen it are you, or in my case, Rachel and myself, are the only ones that have seen it. So at that point, what happens is you get a beta and an alpha reader, and they're usually friends, family, and you say, be kind, be gentle, but please read
I've
this.
never gotten to that point.
You have to. You have to. Because if you're going to get criticized by anybody, you want it to be people that you know, because you won't take it as personally.
I do.
See, you have to get out of that head. Seriously, I mean, you have to get out of that headspace, because they're going to be honest with you, whereas a stranger may or may not. But so we gave our books to alpha and beta readers, and they made their comments, they made some corrections. Now, I'm explaining the process from book 1. Book 2 is very different. So we did the beta readers and stuff like that. And then I had a friend who is a local publisher, and she said, listen, well, they do more leadership types of books, but she said, I'm willing to help you out. Let's get this book started. We'll get it. So we had no clue what we were getting into. Like none. It was horrible. And so she explained it a bit, on what had to be done. So the first thing is like, okay, we have to submit this to your editor, and they'll make some changes and make some suggestions and fix some things. So that was what we thought was going to happen. In our mind, in our head, we're thinking editor just means one, they're going to fix everything. If they find things, they're going to recommend, oh, rewrite this sentence this way. This is in our head what we thought the editing process was. That's not it, people. There are actually multiple different types and styles of editors that you should technically go through. And the one that we were thinking we were getting is more kind of creative editor. But in actuality, it was a mechanical line editor. She was looking for more of just the grammar and stuff like that. So we had to be we put a stop on it. We're like, hold on. We took it back, and we had to go in and make a bunch of changes to it, because we misunderstood what we were going to get.
Let me interject real quick. How did you know what part of the process that editor was at? Do you have a shared document that you could see what they were doing?
Yeah,
okay.
So most editors, a lot of editors, everybody has their own style, but our editor, I should say, she did it in 3. So she took the whole book and she read it in a third. And so once she got back and sent back the first one, we're finding all these mistakes. And we're like, what's going on here? And then that's when we realized, crap, this isn't the kind of editing we thought she was going to be. And at that point, and then what really happened was that she had gotten towards the end, and she said, do you realize you have a big loophole here in your story? You forgot to fix this. And we're like, wow, we didn't even think about that. So we, at that point, were like, okay, because you got 3 edits. Okay, so we stopped it after the first edit, and we said, okay, we need to go back and make all these changes and make some adjustments. And once we did that, we gave it to her, and it was trying to be as nice as possible. It was painful. It was, and it wasn't all on anybody. It was just, we didn't know anything, and we unfortunately made the mistake of trusting that we would be told it was something different, instead of taking it in our own hand and researching more and trying to learn more about it. We were just so overwhelmed with the whole writing it. That's where we got lost. So that we went through that process, and then the next part is what's called pagination. And that's basically just jargon to make how to make a book look good. So like that's when it's justified and it's, you know, spaced properly and stuff, and it fits, and they put the numbers of the book pages and stuff like that. So that was a process because again, came into some issues with that as well. But that's okay. We got through it. We worked together. We made it happen. So once that's done, then you've got to get like your ISBN numbers, which is basically how you sell your book. You have to have that little barcode.
Right.
So you had to get that. That's part of the pagination process. Oh, and I even forgot, you have to create a cover book, a cover page, a book cover. Thank you, a book cover. So we chose that we wanted an illustrated one because we wanted to capture a moment in the book. Whereas a lot of books, when you look at the covers, it's very generalized. It's just, you know, angel wings or like something like that. They're beautiful books, but there was just no way that an illustrator or a graphic artist could do it what we wanted versus what an illustrator could do. So we did that as well, and then all of that went over to the paginator, and she put it all together as a book. So there's all of that mechanics goes behind. For me personally, the biggest kick in my butt was when I thought that there was going to be help with marketing, because I'm not a marketer. I kind of understand how marketing works just from my past, but it's such a different world marketing a book than it is marketing a beer or something. Like, so there was we completely dropped the ball on marketing, had very little marketing for book 2, and then COVID hit. So, and so basically that was the other thing. Like once, I feel like I'm jumping around, but once the pagination and everything is done, you then submit it to like an on book demand place. So we use a company called Ingram Spark, and all that is, they're just a printer. Like
That's a publishing on demand.
It's publishing on the print. Exactly.
If you put an order in for 10 books, they print 10 books.
Exactly. If you want one book, they'll give you one book, so on and so forth. Yes. And then the other thing is because we go through them, we're also part of their distribution, which they distribute to Walmarts and Targets and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's basically where and then you can have hardcover, you have paperback, or you have ebooks. We did have an ebook for a while, and then things got a little dicey, so we pulled it. It's a long story that we'll talk about off air.
Oh boy.
I know. So we just decided, but I think what we're going to do is I'm pretty sure we're going to be uploading books here coming up with this new book. But then once you have your book, you have to market it, but technically the marketing should have started months prior to get people to know that you even have a book coming out. So book 1, everything was very backwards. So that's the long story of the process. How it changed for us for book 2 was we knew right away we needed an editor that was going to help us from start to finish. And I got very, very, very lucky that one of my former students actually went to school for English and for literature, and she took on the role as our editor. And her name is Raven Naelo. She has been phenomenal with editing our book for us. So she helped us with all of it, creative line, mechanics, everything. So that's one thing that we just decided to do differently too, because of COVID, and just because we had to be a little bit more conscious. Rachel taught herself how to paginate the book. So she went in and did all the pagination for the book, and then we still had the same cover artist. Chris, he did the cover art. The girl that Allison did all the maps. So we had.
They're so nice.
Yeah,
They are.
She did those for both of those books as well. And so that whole process has been significantly easier because we were in more control. Before,
and your feet were under you. You knew what to expect.
Exactly.
A little more.
We knew where the pitfalls were. We knew what to watch out for and stuff like that. And then ahead of time, I knew that, okay, I have to try to wrap my head around marketing. So I started doing something like I started doing the email newsletter blast. I started doing the blogs. I started every day trying to come up with something to post every day, which is not very easy when you don't have creative. Like if you don't have pictures or images to use, like you're trying to find clip notes or clip arts that you could use, or just random things that you're allowed to use to enhance your posting. So, and then just recently I brought on several friends, volunteers, an intern, and they have stepped in and now are helping me wrap my brain around this, doing all the social media marketing, and I'm about to reach out to like my media contacts, and hopefully this will help. But yeah, the biggest thing is for being a self-published author is just trying to keep your name out and having opportunities like this, being on podcasts and getting reviews and stuff like that. So I feel like that was a very long explanation, but that's
good.
That's good because
not,
people don't know what they're stepping into.
yeah.
They think you just write a book, you send it to a publisher, and boom,
nope,
there's a #1 bestseller.
nope. No, and that's the thing though. Like, it's not like traditional publishing isn't as hot as it is to be a self-publisher, because with traditional publishing, like, they control everything. As being a self-publisher, you control everything. Like, you decide how much your book is going to be worth. You decide what event you're going to go to, and but the only downside is traditional publishers have a massive marketing team that takes that role on, whereas you have to. And the marketing side is what most authors are terrified about, and it's such a big undertaking, especially like if you're work full time and you're writing and you're trying, like, it's truly mind blowing to try to even scratch the surface of the things you have to do to market anything. Truly, I mean, and social media definitely has helped, but if you're not as savvy at it, it takes a lot longer than it should. Trying to figure all that out. The one thing I wanted to bring up, going way, way back to when we first started, and you said about writing. I always tell people that want to write, stop worrying about your worries. Like, you don't have to be perfect at grammar. You don't have to be knowledgeable about everything. Like, write your story for you. Write the story you want to tell, and then send it to those alpha and beta readers. Send it to, if you're writing a book on World War II, take it to a professor who teaches World War II and get their opinion. Like, lean on the people that you can lean on for the help to get books where you want, but tell your story. Like, that's the #1 thing. There's always going to be at least one person that's going to want to read your story, and there's always going to be one person that's going to actually relate to your story. So, and that's kind of how we look at it.
No, that's a great explanation for people who are thinking about getting into to putting a story on paper or typing it up or however.
And not to scare anyone away from doing it, it's just that they know what's coming ahead of them so that they can plan ahead and try and, so that they don't make...
But the first step is write. Just write.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sit down and write. It doesn't matter. Write a page, write a chapter. You don't have to sit down and write War and Peace your first time out. Like, write a novella. Write something really small until you get your chops and get your rhythm, and then the next will come. Like I said, I mean, I think that I would remember this, but like, I'm going to steal my book.
Okay.
I dare you.
I know, I cannot, I'm terrible at remember, but like, our first book is 341 pages. Like, our second book is not quite double, but like, there's a significant amount. So like, you will get better and at telling stories. It's just, I always give the example for Rachel is like, the Harry Potter series. Like, her first book is fairly small compared to the last two. Like, so like.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So you get better as you write. The more you write,
with it.
exactly. The more you write, and the more you read. I mean, that's also key. Like, I've gotten really, really bad, unfortunately. Like, I do love to hold a book and read it, but like, I'm so busy with my schedule. Like, I am now an addict of audiobooks.
Audiobooks are so nice.
And it's still good because you're getting a story and stuff like that. But
now, when I was growing up, like, I read all the time.
Yeah.
And when I picked up your book, I had to force myself to read.
Mm-hmm.
But once I start reading, it's like,
yeah,
I'm not done. I get back into it quick, especially when the characters and the story carry you with it, which is what the book did. But to actually pick it up and I knew you were coming for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to read the book. Like, I got because I'm not going to go into it blind, because that's not how I do things.
Yeah.
And I took it to work the one day, and at lunch I sat down and I started reading. I didn't eat my lunch. I forgot what time it was, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get back to work. And so then, like every chance I had, if I had 20 down minutes, I was going to read, and that's the way I used to be, and I enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
and I enjoy turning the pages, not holding a tablet.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm like that. I've always been like that. I have to actually get started, and then once I'm started.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so now I have a question.
Okay.
Oh no.
Well, I want to hear from each of you your favorite characters and why. We always ask this every time anybody reads it. We always ask them two questions: who was your favorite character and why, and what was your favorite part of the book? But
Without giving specifics.
without getting specific. So that's why you don't have to ask the second one, but at least the first one. The first. Who your favorite? What character you
Nathan,
like?
you first.
Okay, well, it has been almost a year since I've read the book. I wanted to read it again, but like I said, I'm lazy.
Oh, we put him under pressure here.
But I would have to say my favorite character is either Gideon or another character that I can't remember the name of. Very convenient.
Well, tell me more about that other character, because if you tell me more about, I can tell you what the name is.
They were the necromancer.
Ashade.
Ashade.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Ashade. Oh, that's terrible. Probably should have mentioned him too, because he was a big one.
Well, we talked about the story.
Yeah.
How the story came.
Yeah.
I really liked Ashade.
Yeah. He's very cool. He's a very tormented soul. Ashade's character. That's the best way to explain it. It's very misunderstood, very tormented soul who just gets put in a very bad situation by his own choosing. How about you?
Edgar.
Igor?
Yeah, Igor.
Edgar.
Igor.
So sure about what I'm about to say, but I don't mean that.
And Thomas.
Okay.
And I think their characters, although there's an age gap, are very similar.
They kind of play
in
off
some
one
ways.
another.
Yeah.
And in other ways, they're very, very different.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoy both of them.
They're both loyal.
Very, extremely.
It's the loyalty.
And
the love.
The, like, just the knightly way. Like, chivalrous, just being a proper human being.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have a favorite character because I really enjoyed most of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite parts are easier to talk about, but I'm not going to go into details.
Not allowed.
I will very, very vaguely mention the party.
Okay.
I also really like when everybody goes to train together.
Okay.
That's like one of my favorite parts.
Okay.
It has like a sense of like comic relief almost, but then like you're just pulled back into it. You're like, no, we have like this really serious thing to do. Like we have to do this now. And I think I like those parts because it really lets the characters shine. Like you really get to see their personalities and, you know, like how they're talking to each other, like how they interact with each other. You get to see, you know, their strong suits in different ways, but you're kind of still getting to know those characters. And I like that. Like I like the character development part.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
I think you did very good with those parts, and I liked them too.
I also like the early stuff with Raven and her sister.
Yeah. Good.
I really love the development of the characters and the world building in the book.
Yeah.
And I love the backstory of the omelet and
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we tried to make it as rich as possible, and the nice thing about omelet, especially like in this day and age and stuff like that, like we love the fact that it's the diversity of everything. Like I mean, like in our entire world, like omelet is the one city where it's a ghost.
It was. Ollie was
No
so
such thing.
scared.
A ghost.
Go.
I can't say that anymore. You were attacked.
I was not.
But the fact that Omelette is such diverse and like it's the one place in the world that you can find everyone, everyone, which is very cool because then that way it's a very easy way to show how the different races.
But gnomes, really, gnomes. They had to let the gnomes in.
Yes, they did.
All right, listen, we haven't even touched upon poor Mug. He may be a gnome, but he's kick-ass. I mean, he's really. Can I say that? I hope that. That was the only thing I cursed.
If that's the worst thing that was said in this show.
Yeah, I was trying to keep my mouth.
This is an homage to John because he couldn't be here, so there was no sexual jokes. But there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's John.
I was trying to be. I'm like, don't cuss. Don't cuss.
Oh, you can cuss.
Don't cuss. But yeah, so.
Oh, I can.
I will smack you off the back of your chair.
Okay.
And that is Take on the World.
Yeah. You may have to edit that part out.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. Thank you.
That was so
Thank
good.
you. You just made my job harder.
You're welcome.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You're welcome. So yeah, but thank you. Like we're always very, very excited to hear what other people like. We like the good and the bad comments.
I don't like bad comments. I like the good ones.
I know.
Now, I actually do have one more question.
Yeah.
Because I like this type of question. Anything that I do, any projects I have to do.
Yeah.
If you were able to go back to when you first started writing the book, with all the knowledge you had now, what would you do different?
Wow. I can't answer that obviously for Rachel, but probably try to not take as long as it did. Oh, by the way, did I mention that it took 10 years?
Okay, I didn't want to say anything yet.
I forgot to ask it.
I didn't want to say anything because I didn't know, but I remember when I was in high school. Now, this came out when my brother was in high school.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I remember you and Rachel coming over, and Rachel emailed me, like, the first, 2 pages that she had written. I remember that, and I read them.
Yep.
I did.
10 years. It took us 10 years. And that's probably the one thing, I would go back to them and say, this is going to be great. You need to just sit down and write it now.
Yeah.
And not take so long to write it. But the caveat to that is we have such a better story now than we did 10 years ago.
Right, because you were able to develop it more over that 10 years.
And just things that happened in our life have basically shifted where the book went as well. So, yeah. I mean, that was the first thing that popped in my head was just to try to not take so long to write it and just sit down and write it. Which is, again, goes back to why I always tell people, stop getting in your head. Just sit down and do it. And whatever happens after that'll happen. So, yeah, 10 years.
So, with that, we took on Raven Naelo and the Artifact of Stolen Souls, and the upcoming Raven Naelo and the Fall of the Guardians. And do you have a title that you can release for the third one? No. Okay.
No, because, I do, but I can't release it because then it's going to tell you too much about book 2.
Right, we need to have book 2 before we can have book 3.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. And we chatted a little bit about Synergy.
Synergy, the comic book.
Yeah. And
publishing and writing, and we took all that on, and now you go take on the world.
Hold on, stop. Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that.
Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife? Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
Our podcasts exist because of listeners like you. To find other great shows, head over to the den.show. Thanks for listening.